Parents, what you're about to hear may shock you, but it's a wake-up call we all need. A tale of innocence threatened and lessons learned. Today's story reminds us why we must never leave our children unattended, even with kids their own age. Listen carefully. Ada was a bright 9-year-old girl with an infectious laugh and a curious mind. She lived with her parents in a quiet village where everyone knew one another. Their compound was bordered by another family's home, and in that home lived Chidi, a boy of 10 who was equally spirited but often left to his own devices. The two children played together often, running across the dusty village paths or chasing butterflies under the baobab trees. Their families trusted one another, as neighbors do, but sometimes, trust can be dangerous when vigilance is absent. One sunny afternoon, Ada's mother prepared to head to the village market. She called out to her daughter, who was busy drawing patterns in the sand with a stick. Ada, her mother said, tying a wrapper around her waist. I'm going to the market. Stay in the compound and don't wander off. Do you hear me? Yes, Mama, Ada replied obediently. But promises from a child, however earnest, are easily swayed. Not long after her mother left, Chidi appeared at the low fence separating their homes. His hands were dusty from climbing trees, and his mischievous grin hinted at another of his adventurous ideas. Ada, he called. Come over. I found something really cool. Ada hesitated. Mama said I shouldn't leave the yard. Chidi leaned on the fence, his grin widening. It's just next door. She won't even know. Ada bit her lip. She trusted Chidi, he was her friend, after all. With a quick glance toward the road to make sure her mother wasn't returning, she slipped through the gate and followed him into his house. Inside Chidi's room, the atmosphere was different. The playful boy who usually climbed trees and raced her through the village paths was now engrossed in something she didn't understand. He held his father's tablet, the screen glowing as he clicked through videos. Look at this, Chidi said, holding the device toward her. Ada leaned in and saw something that made her frown. The people on the screen were doing things she didn't understand but instinctively felt were wrong. What is this? She asked. Chidi shrugged, pretending to know more than he did. It's what adults do. I saw it the other day. Want to try? Ada's stomach turned. No. That's not a game, Chidi. This is bad. But Chidi, emboldened by his curiosity and the false confidence of a child imitating what he doesn't fully understand, didn't listen. It's just pretend, he said, stepping closer. No one will know. Ada backed away, her heart pounding. Stop, Chidi. I don't want to. She shouted, her voice trembling. But Chidi was insistent, not out of malice but ignorance. He had seen these videos before, left unchecked on his father's device, and believed them to be normal. Ada's scream pierced the air. It startled Chidi, who immediately froze. The sound of her voice echoed beyond the walls of the house, reaching the ears of a passerby and, more importantly, Ada's mother, who was returning from the market. Ada's mother rushed into the house, her market basket dropping to the ground as she followed the sound of her daughter's cries. She found Ada trembling in a corner of the room, tears streaming down her face, while Chidi stood awkwardly, the tablet still in his hand. What is going on here? Her mother demanded. Chidi stammered, trying to explain himself, but his words made little sense. Ada ran into her mother's arms, sobbing uncontrollably. The sight of the tablet caught her mother's attention. She grabbed it and, to her horror, saw the content that had been playing. She gasped, her heart sinking as she realized what her daughter had been exposed to. That evening, both families gathered in Chidi's living room. The air was heavy with tension. Ada's father was livid, while Chidi's parents looked bewildered and ashamed. Your son was trying to do something inappropriate with our daughter. Ada's father exclaimed. How did he even know about such things? Chidi's father shook his head, his face pale. I don't know, he admitted. He's just a child. He doesn't know what he's doing. Ada's mother interjected, holding up the tablet. This is how. He's been watching things no child should ever see. How could you leave this device unlocked? Do you even know what he has access to? Chidi's mother began to cry, realizing how much they had failed to monitor their son. Chidi sat quietly, his head down, finally understanding the gravity of what had happened. The next morning, Ada's parents and Chidi's family called a meeting of the village elders. They wanted to use this incident as a lesson for the community. Parents gathered in the village square, their children playing nearby, unaware of the seriousness of the discussion. An elder rose to speak, his voice calm but firm. We live in a changing world, he said. When we were children, our dangers were different. We feared the forest at night or the wild animals. But today, the danger is in our homes, in the devices we bring into our lives without understanding their power. We must protect our children. Not just from strangers but from themselves. The elders' words struck a chord. Parents began sharing their own stories of times they had left their children unattended, only to find them in risky situations. Back at their homes, both families made changes. Ada's parents became stricter about where she went and who she spent time with. They also spent more time talking to her about what was right and wrong, teaching her to speak up if she ever felt uncomfortable. Chidi's parents, on the other hand, installed parental controls on all their devices. They made a rule that no child would use a phone or tablet without supervision. Most importantly, they began spending more time with Chidi, guiding him and answering his questions instead of leaving him to learn from the internet. Weeks later, the village had changed. Parents were more vigilant, children were more supervised, and the community was united in protecting its youngest members. Ada and Chidi, now under watchful eyes, played together again, their laughter ringing through the village as it once had. But the lesson was clear. The innocence of a child is fragile, and it is the responsibility of every parent to guard it fiercely. This story is not just about Ada and Chidi. It's about every child, in every home, in every village or city. The world is full of hidden dangers, and it is our duty as parents, guardians, and communities to protect our children. Never leave them unattended, even with others their age. Their innocence depends on your vigilance. Their future depends on your guidance. Protect your children. Be their shield. Their innocence is priceless.